Okay, well, it is exciting to be here. We've been talking about this for almost 2 years now, and here we are actually in a room with our mentors. My name, again, is Jim Perrone, and I'm a managing partner with an organization development firm out of Chicago, Illinois. And our specialty for the last 25 years has been helping organizations establish formal mentoring programs. Also spending time preparing mentors, preparing mentees. Terrible word, mentee, but that's what's in the marketplace. I say mentee, I always think of that animal that keeps running into propellers in Florida or something like that. That's manatee, you know. Mentee's a little different than that. Yeah, so we spend time preparing mentors and mentees, how to create a meaningful, robust relationship, and how to sustain it over time, because very often in formal mentoring, people get very excited in the very beginning, and after a while, we kind of lose sight of it, and it kind of fades away. We have found that if you do it right, you can get these kind of partnerships going and sustain them over time, and they have a dramatic impact on the career of the mentee, and also a dramatic impact most often on the mentor, as you all see. And I'm also making some assumptions. I'll bet that all of you in this room, or at least most of you, have been mentors to people. I mean, it's kind of a natural thing we do. Here we're going to do it in a little bit more structured, a little bit more organized. You know, not terribly structured that it becomes a burden or administrative nightmare, but a little bit to keep it visible, to keep it clear, and to keep people on target. Essentially, to keep it intentional. I think one of the biggest differences I've seen through the years between informal mentoring versus more organized formal mentoring is the fact that formal mentoring is very intentional and focused. I know that somebody's my mentee. That person knows that I'm their mentor. We've worked out some expectations with each other. I have an idea of our different roles and what we want to do here. We have a way of kind of tracking how successful we are. So there's a way to keep this very visible and very intentional. I'll get back to the intentionality piece as we move through the afternoon. So, our focus this afternoon is looking at the mindset and the skill set that goes into creating a meaningful mentoring, learning partnership with somebody else. What the mentor's role about that. Again, the skills that go into that, the competencies and the way of thinking that makes that work. And I know that as we move through the afternoon, you're going to get a lot of opportunity to work at your tables with your colleagues and your peers as we look at some of the skills that go into mentoring, give you a chance to think through some of that, present some of your ideas about mentoring, and give a chance to look at some of the skills we want to talk about and kind of try them out here as we work with each other. So we have a fairly involved time, and I'm always hoping that you're willing to throw your ideas and your experiences in here also, because as I say, I know I'm working with people who've had experience mentoring other people. And it's always a little different. Each of us brings something different to the process. Okay. Want to alert you to this workbook that we will be moving through. And this is probably a good place to take some notes and some things you want to hold on to once you get your mentoring partnership going. The idea here is to recruit these mentees, and we're going to do an orientation with mentees also, so they have an idea what this is all about, and really know what their role is to make this thing work. And I always find it's valuable when we begin this. Let me find my... It's usually helpful to start off getting a little clarity about what we mean by mentoring. And I like to throw a question out to everybody. What is the difference between mentoring somebody and coaching somebody? Somebody's coach and somebody's mentor. Any difference in your mind around that? Yes, sir.
I would like look at coaching more or less a frequent occurrence.
Okay.
Daily contact, maybe 2
okay.
times a week.
Good.
It's a little bit more back and forth. In other words, the mentee calls up and says, "Hey, I've got a problem," so you may not talk to each other.
Okay. Okay, I think I agree with some of that, because I think that coaching usually is much more directed, much around a skill set or an issue that somebody's struggling with, a process they want to learn. So it's really more tactical in many ways, more tactical. Mentoring is more long-term, more strategic. throw up a definition here. Mentoring begins when a person strategically affects the professional life of somebody else. And I really like to emphasize that because I think as you work with the people who will be your mentees, you're working with them on learning how to be a good member of a problem-solving court, how to carry out their duties, but you can't help as you work with them also thinking about what can I do to contribute to this person's ongoing career success. And so hopefully the time we spend together will be valuable for you now, but maybe valuable for you 10 years from now when you kind of think back to what we worked on and what I was able to help you with. It has a long-term piece of it. And affecting the professional life of somebody else, fostering insight, identifying knowledge, expanding the person's horizons, using coaching at times, teaching, training, all kinds of things, always saying, hopefully the time I spend with you will be value added, will have a payoff as you move through your career. So that strategic outlook is going to be a key thing to carry with us as we move through this. Okay, the other thing I always like to spend a little time with in the beginning is thinking about you as mentors and kind of what's in it for you. I'm sure you're all volunteers. You all step forward to want to be a mentor. And I'd like you to stop for a minute and think about what can you take away from this mentoring experience. Now, we're talking about kind of making a commitment for about 1 year with somebody. It doesn't say that you won't keep mentoring them after that, but both parties will know that, hey, we've committed, we signed on to one year. And also, the other part we say around formal mentoring is that there is an expectation we will touch base at least once a month. At least once a month in that year to keep this thing going. And it's been our experience that if you don't do that, it's pretty hard to get this thing going. But once a month is pretty good. Not saying you might not do it more, but I'm saying that's the bare minimum expectation. So you're thinking if you're in that kind of partnership with somebody, what would you hope to take away from it? So you're orienting somebody in terms of your role in a problem-solving team. What would you most want to pass on? I mean, most powerfully, though, again, what's in it for you? What would you like to take away from it? I can think about that for a minute. That's important because your mentees are going to be very interested in why you volunteered in this process. What are you looking for? So, once you got that in your mind, I'd like you to share it at your table. I'd like people to share that at your table. What's in it for you? Then I want to grab some from everybody. But share with your colleagues. What would you most want to get out of this? Okay, I guess most people have had a chance to share their hopes for what they can take away from this experience. I would like some volunteers to tell us some things you would most like to get out of this as a mentor. What would you like to take away from it? Who'd like to share?
We talked about learning from each other, and I think this is a great one. We talked about like getting that energy again from maybe somebody who's new.
Capturing their energy.
Yeah.
Someone's fresh at this thing, doesn't know how tough it's going to be yet, right? So, yeah, you can get some of that positive energy to get from a new person. Excellent. What else? It's a
You don't lose the wealth of knowledge. If someone has energy working in this field, you don't want it to just fall off.
Sure, you want to, okay, you want to pass that on. Know you've made the contribution to the field. And see that pay off later, even though you may not be around to see it, knowing you've planted that seed. Excellent, excellent. Other things?
I think as far as contributing to my profession, I was raised to, in the backcountry league of veteran founders.
Yes, right. We all have that kind of obligation. Here's an opportunity to really do that, to do it in a very clear kind of way. Yeah, you're contributing to the ongoing success of the profession and what's happening. What else? These are all very appropriate. And oh, sorry.
The law enforcement side of this doesn't have a whole lot of training in any of these.
Okay.
There's been very little training that can apply to law enforcement. It's so important to be in it.
Exactly.
So, I think that's, for me, it was a good question.
Sure. Why us?
Why is that important? What am I supposed to do?
Right.
That wasn't clear. So, having been 5 years ago,
Okay. Okay. Good. You see why? You can pass that on again. Open up new perspectives of people who don't even see that as a possibility. All kinds of good things come from that. Absolutely. Passing it on, the message, the lessons. Anything else? Get re-energized again?
There's one other I think if we communicate better with each other, we would have more consistency. At least we can call out.
And this is the way to start getting a more consistent, where the consistent messages are being passed on. People are being prepared in some way. Right, exactly. Okay. Anything else? Did folks mention that it's the sense of satisfaction in watching someone become successful based on your contribution to them? You know, getting a sense of what comes from that, knowing that I played a small role in helping that person really become effective in their role, and maybe continue to play that role later on. I think that's certainly a prize that mentors should be able to take away, the good feeling of watching someone succeed. And if that doesn't turn you on, then this is probably not the right spot for you. You got to have that. And you know, there are certain people who shouldn't be mentors. You may have known some of those people, right? And they get no bang out of watching somebody become successful. That doesn't affect them in any kind of way. And they may be good people and good at their jobs, but somehow transferring the knowledge or transferring the excitement or the experience doesn't do anything for them. And that's what I hear mostly from mentors after they've been at this a while. They come back and say, you know what, I feel good watching how good they got, how soon their pace of growth accelerated. That was rewarding for me to watch that happen, knowing I played a little role in that kind of thing. And also rewarding learning from them. People coming in with fresh ideas, new perspectives, you're learning from them. So all kinds of good things happen here. And after a while, sometimes you're not quite sure who's the mentor and who's the mentee, if this is working right. It's a learning partnership. Two people in a learning role and kind of getting thoughtful and organized about how that should work. So I will wager that if you do this for a year or so, you're going to feel really good about it. In terms of what you took away from it, in addition to what you were able to pass on to them. And what you were able to do jointly, and what you were able to generate together. Okay. I want to talk about some other parameters. I'm going to go to page 11. This is to talk a bit about an alliance from mentee success. And that's what this is all about, is making this person as successful as possible in the role they're going to be in. And so we have kind of a triangle here. At the top of the pyramid, we've got the mentee, and then we've got whoever that person's manager, supervisor is, and then we have the mentor, who again is not their manager, supervisor. And one of the things that we already touched on a little while ago is that probably if you know somebody really well, or if you're in any kind of organizational relationship with them where there's any kind of accountability, you're probably not going to be their best formal mentor. I think that supervisors should try to coach and mentor people as much as they can as part of their job. But and there's some real advantage to a supervisor seeing herself or himself in a coaching, mentoring role with somebody, helping that person grow in their capacity. They usually have access to them. They're there on a daily basis. They know a lot about that person. They can give them assignments or things to work on that will help them grow and develop. There's also some restrictions to the supervisor being a mentor. What are some of the things that get in the way of the supervisor being in a mentoring role, getting the most out of it? Absolutely. 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 I want to look good in the eyes of my supervisor. That person's evaluating me. That person's making decisions about me. So we learned in kindergarten, look good in front of the boss. Right? And I know a lot of supervisors do a great job of nurturing and developing their people. But there's always this little barrier that exists. And so we say, okay, supervisor, try to coach your mentor, but we're also going to assign you somebody who you don't have a reporting relationship with, mentee, who will also be your mentor. So you're in that role as the non-supervisor mentor. Now, I want to go back to the top of the pyramid for a second before I look at your role in more detail. We like to say when these partnerships work best, they're mentee-driven. They're not mentor-driven. Why do you think that's the case? Mentee-driven, not mentor-driven.
their investment.
It's their investment. Their path. You don't know what their path really is. You don't know what they want out of this thing. You don't know what they're struggling with. You don't know what's not clear to them. So they've got to provide all of that to you so you can be the guide and you can help them, but they have to have the destination in mind. They have to have the energy, they have to have the commitment to take your advice and input and put it to work to get better and better. You can't do it for them. It's all about empowering them to do what they need to do. So they're the driver to experience. And usually when we orient the mentees, we make that point very clear to them. You're not just coming there with a notebook to grab all the good ideas that your mentor is going to tell you. Even though they'll have some good ideas for you. Not just that. There's much more to it than that. So the mentee's the driver. They've got the destination in mind. You're the guide to help them get there. So there's a real advantage to having a mentor who's not the supervisor. So what can the mentor who's not a supervisor provide? A clean relationship. Yeah, it's not all entangled with past experiences or your preconceived notions of them. Very often I'll have supervisors say to me, well, you know, I want to sit down with this mentor and kind of tell them about this mentee. So they're prepared. And I always say, I don't want you to do that. Because you've made up all kinds of things about that person through the years, right? You've got them in a box. We all have people in a box. We define their strengths, we define their weaknesses, and now we're going to lay that on the mentor who will now reinforce it with the mentee. I think one of the great things about having a formal mentor is I can recreate myself if I want to with this mentor. I don't have to follow an old script. So I don't think the mentor needs much more information except what she or he's going to get from this partnership itself. The general role. So you don't need a lot of background information about this mentee. A little bit goes a long way. So clean slate's a key thing for me. You're going to start fresh here. You're going to provide a safe harbor. I like to talk about a safe harbor. Here's a place where I can come and talk about all the things I don't know. I can talk about all the things that make me anxious about being in this team, let's say. Or all my preconceived notions that I want to share with somebody, and I may be dead wrong, but I can talk about it and not feel that I'm going to get judged or put down or in some way get hurt by sharing this information because this person has no authority over me. This is not going anywhere else except in our partnership. So this safe harbor is incredible. And when I talk to mentees, when I evaluate programs, I'll say, what was the most impressive thing for you? That was having somebody who was really interested in my success and somebody who I didn't have to worry about. Where I can be my real self. I can be really authentic in this relationship. Those are odd relationships in organizational life, right? We don't have many of those. So, the safe harbor, this different perspective, this lessons of experience that we're going to be working on in a few minutes, you can share with them. Very powerful kind of stuff when this partnership really begins to move. Okay, but I talked about the safe harbor, and there's a requirement in this relationship between the mentor and the mentee that makes this work. What do you think one of the most important ground rules are for getting this thing going? Absolutely. Confidentiality is the ground rule. What goes on between us remains between us. Obviously within things that are legal and ethical, obviously that doesn't remain hidden. But anything else that we can talk about doesn't get passed on to anybody else. It's between us. And it goes both ways. As a mentor, I might tell you about some of the struggles I had and how hard it was for me to get into this thing and how it didn't make sense to me at first, and eventually it started to clarify what I was supposed to do here. I can share it with you, and I don't expect my mentee to be telling people, boy, this mentor, she had a real hard time with this thing, you know. It almost didn't work out. No, it's confidential there. Key requirement, knowing, especially for mentees, I'll say, knowing that I can talk just about anything here in terms of my professional life and what I'm working on with my mentor and not be concerned about where that goes. Critical ground rule. Okay. Yeah, if anybody comes up and talks to you about, you know, how's your mentee doing, you say generally, so I think they're doing real well, fine, but I don't, you know, but I'm bound by confidentiality. I'm not going to get any details over that. People kind of understand that and respect it. It's kind of common sense that you need to have that if it's going to work. And usually when we orient mentees, we also orient them around this too, so they understand what this is going to be about. Just a little structure makes these things very successful. Getting these expectations clear very early and then kind of letting it go. Okay. Any points that any further clarification around this? Okay. We're going to be talking a lot about mentor skills and mentor competencies, but a key mission of the mentor is passing on their lessons of experience. And I want us to get a chance to start thinking about that a little bit. Not that you can sit down at one time and jot down everything you want to pass on, because it's going to come as you're in a relationship with someone. But I think it's a good thing to start about what do you think you would most want to pass on. So I'd like you to go to page 13 and 14. And we've got 5 questions that I'm going to give you a chance to do some thinking about. Now, first one, what are the key truths regarding working effectively on a problem-solving court treatment team where you most want to communicate to a new team member? Okay. What should they know about the typical culture of a problem-solving court team? What typically goes on there and the norms and how people operate? What's the best way for a new team member to establish credibility and earn the confidence of their colleagues on a problem-solving court team, from what you know? And 2 more. If you had to contribute 1 quotation or saying of your own to a book on being successful in a problem-solving court team, what would that quotation be? And the last one, given you what you know about the current and future challenges facing problem-solving courts in Colorado, what do you think your mentee will need most from you? I can take a few minutes and do some thinking about that. We'll give you a chance to have some dialogue on this. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to break into your discussions. I know some great dialogue has been going on here. But I do want to see if we can hear what some of the things that are being talked about here. We can't collect all the ideas. We don't have time for that. But a lot of good ideas are coming. So we'll just see what we can surface here. First one, what key truths regarding working effectively on a problem-solving court treatment team would you most want to communicate to a new member? What are some of the key truths that got talked about at your tables? What was that one? Did everybody were able to hear that? Okay. What are some other ones?
I said just the opposite, know your role.
Know your role. Okay.
I sit next to each other.
Right. Okay. Know your role. What are some other ones?
Know the model. Know the model.
Know the model. Understand it. Become familiar with it deeply. Know the model.
And then come in understanding that addiction is a very different kind of problem with a very specific kind of response.
Okay. Come in with that.
Right.
That point of view. Be willing to understand that when you're in this team. Addiction requires a whole different way of thinking. Good. Other key truths? Any others? Trust the research. Excellent. Good. How about the second one? What should you know about the culture of being in this team? What's it like?
Non-adversarial.
Non-adversarial. Maybe different from other teams you've been in, right? Especially with some of the players in this team. You're going to be dealing differently with them. Non-adversarial. Other things about the culture of the team. Was that one?
It's solution focused.
It's what focus?
The courts are solution focused.
Solution focused to this. We have a target, somebody we're going to move forward. There's an end product. This participant really coming away different than they came into it. Excellent. Anything else? Get some more. How do they establish credibility? How do they establish credibility?
Follow through things, answer emails, answer voicemails, even if you don't know the answer.
Respond back. Follow through. Be accountable to this team. Follow through. Do your work. Earn a sense of this person can be relied on, has some integrity. Excellent. Other thing, what else? How else do they own respect?
Being courteous and respectful.
To the other team members. Respecting their point of view, respecting their specialty, and courteous and respectful. Very key.
We talked about making sure you learn the best practice standards, learn the research, learn the policies, understand the concepts.
Be knowledgeable. Understand the concept. That's how you get credibility in the system. Excellent. Great. I like this one. If you had one quotation in the book about how to be an effective problem-solving core team member, what would that quotation be? Anybody want to share? Got one in the back?
I'm a willow, I can bend. I'm a willow, I can bend.
Well, I bet. Good. Okay. Others? Other quotations if people want to take.
Take it till you make it.
Okay.
Mine is, your greatest strength is your greatest weakness, is vice versa.
Your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. Okay, you are an expert in this area, and you can be dominant with that point of view if you're not careful. Okay, all kinds of things they work. Know that. Know that. Any others? These are rich. These are good. There's one.
It's all about the strategy. It's really the strategy. Each one of our participants is a strategy. You can make a difference in one person's life, then you've done it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the payoff. Okay, one more here.
Be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Part of the solution, not part of the problem. Yeah, so don't be throwing up roadblocks. Don't be dragging your feet. Don't be making this work.
The answer is never no.
The answer is never no.
Never no.
Okay. It's always yes.
No.
The answer is maybe. Or the answer is who knows, you know? Okay. Everyone way in the back. Shout it out for us. What's that one? Think outside the box. Yeah, help your colleagues think outside the box. Excellent. And the last one is, what do you think they're going to need most from you as a mentor? What do you think?
Support,
Support.
knowledge, understanding.
Knowledge, understanding. Okay. Any others? It's universal. Good. Okay. Well, again, it's a chance to start thinking about these. New ones will emerge as you're working with them. This is the time to pass this on. This is the time to pass this on. Knowing the right spot to make your intervention and make your suggestion is going to be key here. And a lot of that has to do with knowing them, knowing what they need. And we're going to do a lot of work on that. Okay, good. Okay. Moving on here, thinking about mentoring again. I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit. Now, you're going to, again, be in a place where you're going to establish your relationship with this person as your mentor. I'm not quite sure how it's all going to work out. You might be suggested you be somebody's mentor. You might be assigned to be somebody's mentor. Someone will say, here's a person available to you, be the mentor. So you're going to go in there with the idea that you've been selected to be this person's mentor. That's great. And that's 3/4 of the job down the road. Because here you are, willing to do this. Obviously, you've got some credibility. You wouldn't be in that role. Some experience behind you, you wouldn't be in that role. Okay, so I say that's 3/4 of the game. There's another quarter here, and that's the last quarter. You have to earn the right to mentor somebody. Even though you were suggested and recommended, and you're there, and they're saying, okay, this person's going to be pretty good, there's still a piece there where you're going to have to prove to them that you can be their mentor. And all of us, you can think back in our careers and our lives where we had mentors, somebody we wanted to emulate, somebody we wanted to go to for advice. We didn't do that immediately. They did things that made us feel comfortable with them. They did things that built the trust in us and them. They demonstrated qualities that made me feel, this person could be my mentor. Well, you have to do some of that here too. You have to earn that trust. It's going to be less difficult for you because you're already 3/4 down the road in doing it. There's still that other quarter. How do you close the deal in terms of them knowing that, this is the person I can trust, I can be open to, I can take advice, I can raise my issues and concerns with them. So I want us to do some thinking about that. On page 16, got this chart. We have ideal mentor characteristics, ideal mentee characteristics. I want to have us deal just with the ideal mentor characteristics for our purposes here. I'd like you to think back on those people I mentioned before, people who you would say were mentors in your career. And every time I do that, I got 7 or 8 people jump up. And I remember I never called any of those people mentors. They just were that to me. Maybe it was a first boss, maybe it was a co-worker, maybe it was a coach, maybe it was a professor, somebody. You think back at these people, I'd like you to think about what were their characteristics? Why did you want to emulate them? Why did you go to them for advice? Were we open to their suggestions? Why did you bring them your challenges and concerns? Take a minute, just jot down what you think about characteristics of somebody who's effective in a mentoring role. I'd like you to spend some time hearing what people have come up with, and as you're listening to that, I'd like you to listen to some of the themes that'll start emerging here. You're going to see some similarities emerging here. Then I want to see if we can capture some of that and kind of paint us a picture of what this good mentoring would look like when it's working. So again, share what you have, listen for the themes, and then we'll pull some of that out. All right, successful. What else? Enthusiastic. Why is that so important?
Well, they're passionate about, they've been passionate about, I'm passionate about it.
Yeah, we're going to catch that passion and catch that enthusiasm that's sincere. Now, it doesn't mean we all have to be jumping up and down, you know. I mean, different people can be enthusiastic in different kind of ways. But we know that this person, I like to think they're passionate about what they do. And I want to catch that. I want to be mentored by somebody who loves what they do. What else about these mentors? They're good listeners. What makes that so critical? Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah, if you don't understand my issue or my concern or my struggle, you don't have credibility in my eyes. One way you earn the right to mentor to me is the fact that you understand me. You listen. Oh yeah, you're ignoring what their issue is. Exactly, it's my agenda, not theirs. And so our key is really working hard to get their, understand their agenda, understand their struggle, understand their concern. And the harder we work, the more we get credibility with them. Good listening, we're going to talk about this a little later. It's the foundation mentoring skill. That's how you get your credibility. It's a basic one. And we build on it, but that's the foundation. Okay. What else about these mentors?
Empowering the mentee.
Ah, okay. Say more about that. So they're empowering. Meaning what?
Even self-confidence.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So I come away from mentoring is not a crutch. You know, I shouldn't need you. Somehow I come away more confident, feeling stronger, owning my career, owning my direction, because my work with you allowed that to happen. Excellent. So I'm always empowering. We're going to talk a lot about that. I'm always throwing the ball back to the mentee on the decision, back to the mentee on the choice of direction. Always their choice. Good. Other things about these mentors. They're strength focused. Say. Okay, so they're helping me, they're focused on my strength, right? They're pulling the best out of me. Excellent. They're looking for where my depth is, what I understand. I have some strengths I may not even know I have, but good mentors help me see that. My hidden strengths, I love that. They're strength focused. Yeah, mentors are not fixers. They're not fixers. They're empowerers. Other things about these mentors.
They encourage long-term goals, even while they're
Okay. Good. Okay. I love that. I love that. They have that strategic perspective, that long-term, that vision. And very often when you're working people, especially people somewhat younger or newer in their career, they have a hard time with that. They sometimes don't think that way. What's it going to look like 10 years from now? 15 years from now? If you're the best you can be, what would that be like? Helping people paint that picture gives them a target. So even though we may be talking about day-to-day issues, they're always thinking about it from a strategic perspective. Another one came up here. They're good. They're available. Yeah, that makes you may have all these great characteristics, but if you're not there, it doesn't count. So I think, something I'm sure you've all considered when you sign up to be a mentor, will you be available? And that means, available for at least once a month, but also, will you be there for the email or for the call? That's important. And you have a chance of laying down some of those ground rules with your mentee about how available you have to be. But if you're not available, this will not work.
I said this somewhat facetiously, but the older than I am. And I did it for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think there is an image that you want to portray. But also, as you were saying, sir, sometimes if you want to talk about what's this going to look like for you 5 years or 10 years down the line, you got to be 5 years or 10 years.
I've been down there. Sure, it helps. It helps to be older. I have no problem with that anymore, but it helps. One time I did. I struggled with that. Yeah, but it does. You at least have to have been down the road. That's going to help me.
Positive attitude.
Okay, yeah. Positive. Yeah. Yeah, you're in a tough business. It's easy to wrap up in negativity and things don't work and disappointment. But I want to be lifted up when I'm talking to my mentor. I want to look forward to those conversations. I don't want to dread them. I know if I talk this over with this person, I'm going to come away with a different perspective. I'm going to be encouraged again. My confidence will increase. And it won't be phony. It'll be sincere and honest, but it'll be positive. Good. Other things you remember about these mentors.
Patience for mistakes.
Patient. Okay. Yeah. Patience. Let me make mistakes. Let me struggle. Give me some time. You've been at this a longer time than I do. Some of these things are instinctive to you. They're not instinctive to me. I've got to learn them. Give me the space, the place to do that. Yeah. And I think that's one reason I think it's easier to be mentored by somebody who's not evaluating me, or their success is not tied to me. Because it's hard to mentor someone when what they're doing is going to affect you. Here you can be patient, say, okay, you're struggling with that, maybe your team may be not happy about that, or your supervisor, but I can give you space around that in our discussion. Don't have to be disappointed because it doesn't click in right away. Excellent. Anything else? Anything else? These are great lists. Okay, I've got a couple I'm going to throw in there. One, they're honest with me. They're really honest with me. And that isn't always comfortable. Isn't always comfortable. But part of your job as a mentor is holding the mirror up to somebody. After a while, you're going to get a sense of them. You're going to get a sense of their strengths, but you're also going to get some of the things they're struggling with that they may not be aware of. And they're going to want to know from you, how do you see me? What do I need to improve? In addition to my strengths. And I've had mentees tell me how much they value their mentor's feedback, even more than their supervisor. Why do you think they may value their mentor's feedback more than I might value their supervisor's feedback? What's the difference?
I think it goes back to that clean relationship. As a supervisor, I have agency roles over my shoulder.
You bet. You bet. You bet. Well, you're giving me feedback. It's usually around what's best for the agency or the role. And it's probably required I get that feedback. When my mentor gives me feedback, it's me. It's only for me. So I should value that. This person's going out of the way to tell me something that they think is going to be important for my career. They're going to pay attention to that once we gain credibility. And also, not just the things I need to improve, but also my strengths again. They're going to pay attention to. And the last one I want to deal with here is good mentors challenge. They challenge. They stretch. They raise the bar for me a little bit. They make me be as good as I could be. They have a picture not only of who I am now, but who I could be. And they're treating me in ways that I could be that, not just treating me in ways that keep me stuck to where I am now. So good mentees are willing to get out of their comfort zone. And growth requires that. And mentors are willing to nudge me a little bit. You can do that. You can raise that issue in your team. You're nervous about raising it. You can raise that issue. It may be scary for you, but it's going to be important. So I'm here to kind of nudge you a little bit. I challenge and I support. Combination for growth. Excellent. Good. Okay. This is a great list. Wonderful qualities. Enthusiastic, good listener, empower, a strength finder, help me vision my long-term goals, available, older, positive, patient. These are great qualities. How prevalent are these qualities, do you think, in the system? These kind of rare in people? Pretty prevalent? What do you think?
I don't think it's embodied in one person. I see it's qualities.
Spread around?
Compared to the university, yeah, I think.
Sure.
But the kind of strengths you can see.
Right.
Who's got this portion at this level.
Okay.
Another one.
Right. At the same time, none of this requires neurosurgeon training, right? These are all pretty basic kind of things. If we think about them, we can do this, without a doubt. Now, again, what I think is so powerful about formal mentoring is I know I'm in this relationship. I know I should be doing these things with this person, and I'm more likely to be able to bring them forward. Maybe I don't do this with everybody, but I know when I sit down with this person and we have our, I got this hat on. That's where the intentionality really has its power. Great list. Good. Okay. I suggest we take a break right now. I want to come back in then and start building on how do we bring these things forward. What's the skill set, competency set that makes this happen? Let's take 10 minutes. That'll work for us? Good. Okay, we'll start up in a minute or so.
your cell phone ringing?
Oh, is it ringing?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. I want to pull some of our discussion together here, and I'd like you to go to page 17 in your workbook. Get a chance of summarizing some of the work we've done before we move on. Here we've kind of isolated some of the key elements of being successful at mentoring. A lot of this we've already talked about, and we're saying there's three basic key elements. The first one is self-concept. That's an interesting one because there's kind of a paradox here. Usually you get selected to be a mentor because you've been very successful in the work you've done. Obviously all of you have been good at your specialty area. And you've been good decision makers and good problem solvers, experts in your area. You operate from that place. You kind of fix the problems, you make decisions, you add significant input to your problem solving teams. That's all great. Now, that's how you got selected. Now, as you move into the mentoring place, you're saying, that's not exactly your role. You're not going to be the problem solver here. You're not going to be the decision maker here for the mentee. You're going to play a little different role. Here, you're really a people developer. You're doing all the things we talked about a few minutes ago. You're empowering them. You're making them more capable. You're building capacity in them. That's your goal. So it's not just jumping in all the time and saying, here, do this, do that. No, how do you get them to be aware of what they need to do and give them the confidence to be able to do it? A little different perspective you need to have. And I've heard a lot of mentors say that's some of the most difficult thing for them, to move out of being the doer themselves and really being the enabler for somebody else to be the doer. Not so easy when usually we spend day in and day out in our role being the expert in our area of specialty. So now you're a people developer. You're, again, building capacity in someone else. The next sense is availability. It's already come up here already. But we've got that physical availability or electronic availability. But there's another sense of availability here, kind of psychological availability, emotional availability. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier when we talked about the triangle. Part of my job as a mentor is to create this comfort zone for somebody. I've got to kind of set the scene so people can take advantage of being in this environment where they can be authentic. But that just doesn't happen. As a mentor, initially I have to do some things around that first to get people to be relaxed and lower the guard and get people to be more willing to take risks and be vulnerable and be themselves. So what do you think we can do as mentors to create that comfort zone? If we're going to take the lead. Now, initially we take the lead. After a while, it's just going to happen. But in the beginning, they're going to look to us and say, what's okay to talk about here? How open can I be here? How relaxed can I be here? They're going to look to us and send some signals about that. So what are some ways you think we can create that kind of environment in the relationship?
I guess the first thing that pops in my head is inviting them to tell me what they want from me.
Okay. Being very interested in what they want, going after, I want to hear them clearly say what would be a positive outcome for them. What are they looking for? What do they need from me? So I know it's going to be based on them, not based on me. Good, that's one indicator thing we'll do. What else can we do to create a more open atmosphere?
I think we can model that.
Okay. Say a little bit more about that.
Well, within boundaries,
Sure.
being open and acknowledging that we too are still learning, that we have
Good, good, yes,
we'll continue making ourselves,
right.
even in this relationship, and, ask them for patience
Excellent, excellent. They're very interested in the mentors, in your background and your career. They're not so interested in all your victories and all your successes. They're interested in your struggles. So by being vulnerable, admitting, yeah, well, when I first came on the team, let me tell you some of the things I think I did wrong that I wish I didn't had done. Okay, wow, I could relax now. I can talk about some of the things I'm not so clear about. So I'm going to, again, be the model, be the example of being forthcoming and honest, being vulnerable here. So they can be vulnerable here. And if we can be vulnerable here, we can be open here. And the more openness we have, the richer this partnership's going to be. It's all about relationship, obviously. And good relationships are incredibly open relationships. So that's how we start doing that around availability. Looking for places to share with them things about ourselves. Okay, the next place is skills. There are some key mentoring skills. We talked about one a few minutes ago, the ability to listen well. And I like to say to listen as a mentor, not to listen as a problem solver. There's a different focus on that, which may be different than your role day in, day out. You know, if we're an expert in an area and somebody comes to us and say, I'm struggling with this, oh, you're here, do this, oh, fine. But as a mentor, it's different. If somebody comes to me and say, okay, here's what I'm struggling with, I don't say just all the time, do this. I got a different role. When we listen as a problem solver, what do we usually listen most to when somebody brings me their concerns or their issues? The problem, the content. I want the facts. When a mentee brings me their concerns, her or his concerns, what do I listen to most? Where's my focus? Okay, here's her reactions. I listen to them, the person first, because their problem with their problem is my problem, not their problem. If you get that, you've graduated a course here, right? It's their problem with the problem. I'm going to focus on them so they can go after that. It's a whole shift, and learning to listen that way is not what we typically do. Okay, then the ability to ask great questions. Good mentors ask great questions. Get me thinking. Well, what would you do if she said that? And how would you react if that happened? Or what did you learn from that? What could you do? There's no limit to good discovery questions, because that produces the learning. It produces ahas that they discover. When they discover it, it's powerful, right? The second one is how to hold the mirror up to them again. How to give unsolicited feedback at times around their strengths and areas they need to grow in. So we're gonna go after a couple of these while we're here. Let's start first with this listening business that we've been talking all about. I have you turn to page 19 and 20. You can read a lot of about that on your own, but I want to talk a little bit about it and then give us a chance to deal with it. And I know you've all had oodles of listening training in one place or another, so I'm sure you're all, when you want to be, good listeners. I like this little model as an additional one I'd like to share with you based on all the other ones I know you had. You can add it to it. Because I like it because it really helps me get clear about my role as a listener, as a mentor. And it's kind of based on this principle. It's kind of saying that every time we interact with somebody, we're at one or another level of listening. And we usually do this subconsciously. We don't think about it. We're either at level 1 listening, or at level 2. Level 1 we call internal listening. Again, listening more as a problem solver. When we're at level 1, we focus on the facts and the content. And as they're talking, we're probably judging what we're hearing. Good idea, bad idea, I would do this. And we're probably problem solving. I would do that, I would do that. And so you got a lot of internal chatter going on at level 1. What do you think we're listening most to at level 1? Usually our favorite station, right, ourselves. And that may be appropriate, by the way. There may be times when we should be at level 1. I should hear the problem and help solve it. Level 2 is a little different. Level 2 we're calling focused listening, and here I'm paying attention not only to the facts and the content, but I'm paying attention to the nonverbals, the feelings, the tone here, the enthusiasm, the lack of enthusiasm. all that kind of nonverbal communication. What do we say, 70 or 80% of communication is nonverbal, not words. So we're paying attention, and also we're level 2, we're holding off the judging and focusing a lot more on the understanding. Before I come up with criticizing this in my mind, let me first understand it, keep my mind clear, and instead of problem solving, let me stay more with empathy here. Let me try to go, what's going on in their world? Why is this a struggle? Stay away from judgment, stay away from solving it too properly, focus more on, let me get it. Let me really kind of walk in their shoes a little bit, and let me get it. And so we keep an other person focus when we're at level 2. We may stay at level 2 for a minute or so, or 30 seconds, then we may go to level 1 and say, okay, I got a good sense of it, and now I have a question for you, or now I have a suggestion, but first let me really get it, to keep totally open at level 2. What do you think is the power on a mentee when somebody's listening to them at level 2? What's the impact on the mentee who's sharing their concern or their problem? What's that like?
A lot deeper.
It's going to be deeper. I feel really understood and heard, which again gives you credibility. If you're working that hard to hear me, it's sending me a real signal that I'm valued in your eyes. I must be kind of important because you're really focusing really hard to get it. And again, your credibility, your right to mentor increases dramatically. At the same time, I think it's somewhat challenging to be at level 2. I know most of us don't live there very often. We usually live at level 1. So it takes a decision we need to make to do it. And I want to give us a chance to see what it's like to be at level 2. You always know there's something more involved here than just talking about this stuff. You know, all this stuff, you can't talk about it, it's a doing kind of thing. So what I'd like everybody to do is to find a partner. Find a partner. I think we got even tables except for this table. I think we need one more. Do we have a volunteer to work with somebody up here on one of those back tables? I want 2 if I can get. You got it? We do have a volunteer. We got every other table. Everybody has a partner, right? Twos. Oh, you got 5s. You don't have one there. Let's see. If somebody can join them, but you're okay. And we need somebody up here too. We may have to do 3s if we don't have that. Okay. Oh, you can join them. That's great. That'll do it. Hey, mathematics is not my strong suit. But this is good. This is good. Great. You can grab one of those chairs. Okay, good. Good. Okay. All right. We're going to try a little experiment here. Real easy experiment. We're going to do a couple rounds of listening here. And in each round, we're going to have somebody who's a speaker and somebody who's a listener. Really easy. We'll do 2 rounds. You get a chance to get even. So, okay. And the way this is going to work is I'm going to give the speaker a topic. You will all be experts on those topics. You don't have to be anxious about it at all. You'll all be experts. I'm going to give the speaker a topic, give the speaker 15, 20 seconds to get their mind ready. Then I'd like the speaker to express their point of view on that topic to the listener. Now, the listener's job is even easier than the speaker's job. The listener just listens, but listens at level 2. Level 2. Try not to be at level 1. Try to really get it at level 2. In fact, we're so interested in the speaker focusing on level 2, the speaker will do no talking. Excuse me, the listener will do no talking. That'll be a real trick, wouldn't it? Now you know we've gone to another level. That's level 3 listening. That's next year. Now, at this level, the speaker talks, the listener will do no talking. The listener will not ask any questions. The listener will just listen at level 2. This is going to go on for 3 minutes. Then we will have some questions for the listener after that. Okay? So decide who's going to be the speaker and who's going to be the listener in the first round here, before I give you the topic. Okay. Everybody's got a partner?
Yeah.
Know their roles? Okay. We have the confidentiality ground rule also working in these discussions. All right, here is what I'd like the speaker to speak about. I'd like you to stop for a minute, and I'd like you to think about a significant success experience in your career. Something that went really well for you that made a difference. Maybe it was a client you were working with, a breakthrough, maybe whatever it was. Something that stands out. That was, maybe it happened a year ago, 20 years ago, 6 months, a significant success experience. Think about it. Once you think about it, I'd like you to begin to tell the story about that experience to the listener who will be at level 2. If you haven't got a success experience, you probably don't belong in this group, right? We're assuming as mentors you got something, please. You can begin any time you want. I will call time. Okay, let me break in here before we get ready to switch it to the second round. Let me ask a question of the listeners here. What was the most difficult part about staying at level 2? What did you find pulling you away from level 2, if anything? What was that? A long period of time not to, and by the way, we're not suggesting you don't talk for 3 minutes in real life, which might be refreshing for a lot of us. Yeah, in real life, maybe it's 30 seconds, a minute, so you get it. But here we want to get the practice. It's not easy not doing that. What were some other things?
Other conversations.
Oh, okay, right. And how did you handle that?
You can focus in very directly.
Exactly. You make a decision, right? I'm going to focus, I'm going to drown that out. We can do it. We can make a decision to do that. It's all the decision. Same with level 2 listening. You make a decision. I'm going to really focus for 30 seconds with this person. Okay, good. All right, let's switch it. Let's switch it. Chance to get even here. No. Not the same topic, no. Didn't think it'd be that easy, did you? Okay. New speaker, new listener? Okay, speakers want to talk about your topic. Not that different, but somewhat different. This time I'd like speakers to think about a significant learning experience in their career. Something that maybe didn't go that well initially. It was maybe a struggle, a challenge, but now you look back at it 5 years later, 10 years, boy, that was a good experience, even though I didn't enjoy it at the time. A significant learning experience in your career. See if you can get one crafted around that. Most of us don't forget these. Okay, let me check in here, and let's see. Let me ask this question of listeners. What were the feelings you were picking up at the beginning of the conversation? What were some of the feelings that came out in the beginning of the conversation?
Frustration, bordering on anger.
Okay. We're back in that old place again. We're back at when it happened usually. So where were we at the end? What were you picking up at the end of the conversation? What do we hear then? Some pride. Okay. You hear some different things. Okay. I feel a sense of satisfaction. It was resolved. Maybe I even pulled some learning from it. Years later, said, "Wow, that was a good experience," even though I hated it. Right? It was a good experience. Excellent. So if our antenna is up, we're gonna watch it moving. Let me ask you this question before we shift out of this listening piece or build on it. Really don't shift from it. What do you think are some of the biggest impediments of being at level 2? What do you think is going to get in the way of really listening at that deep level? Keeping our mind clear and picking it up. Fatigue? Okay. Okay. It takes work. Yeah, it takes work. Of course, well, that's a good thing. I'm tired. I got a lot happen today. My mind is thinking about what happened. I'm worried out. Yeah, I got to wake up a little bit here because it takes some energy to really focus with somebody. Again, we're not saying 3 minutes.
We actually had kind of the opposite because both of our experiences were ones that we had similar ones.
Okay.
We both passed the bars, and when he was telling me about passing the bar, I knew what it was all about.
Sure, sure.
So we didn't have to disconnect that I was
Okay.
listening to something that was totally alien.
Good, good. Well, that's a plus, but it sometimes can get in the way because sometimes when you're starting to talk about your experience, and I had one similar, I can start drifting thinking about my experience. And so I got to pedal back and say, wait a minute, it's not about me, it's about them.
I think the desire to jump in and talk.
Yeah. We want to talk. We want to solve the problem. We want to state our idea. No, it's about them. It's not about us. So we got to give up being the savior here and the problem solver and the rescuer. Okay.
Geographic distance.
Okay.
We're having to talk
On the phone.
Of course, I'm losing facial
Yes. You don't get that. So you have to really work hard to do it. You may have to ask some questions to see if they're there, to see what's going on. So it's a lot more difficult, you're right, when we're separated by some distance.
Ironically, even if technology can assist with that one through video conferencing.
Sure.
Having our screens pop up
Exactly.
email alerts and our phones say, you got a text message.
Yeah, so you can get pulled all over the place. Yeah, exactly. So I got to concentrate on this conversation. And while I'm my mentoring conversation, I'm not going to be looking at my screen. I'm going to shut other people off. This is just about this conversation. And again, that will send signals to that mentee that I really think this is important and valuable. I'm not just going through the motions. And they'll respond in a like way. Yeah, it's a decision we need to make. Now, there's a little more to it. I always suggest doing some paraphrasing after I've heard it to make sure I heard it right. This is what I'm picking up. This is what I heard. Let me see if I have it. Then we can move on. I may jump to level 1 for a second, say, okay, I do want to make a suggestion to you about this. Got an idea? Then they may talk again. I'm back at level 2 again. Maybe 30 seconds, just getting it. I'm always open to getting it. All my credibility comes from that in the process. Okay, any other insights about this listening piece? This is also a skill set that will help you in other parts of your life, let me tell you.
In that vein, both of us were talking because we're judges, and we were saying, we've got 20 or 30 cases that we have to hear in a short period of time. So the quicker we get into focused listening,
Sure.
the more effective.
Sure,
we end,
absolutely,
becoming.
absolutely. And I'm sure you train yourself to do that. I'm sure you do it.
Yeah.
You have to.
So your point that, yeah, you can use the cell phone, that's what
Yeah, so it's a great little tool, and to be aware of it. Once I'm aware, I can do it. It's just an issue of intentionality for me. Okay, let's build on it with another key skill set that we mentioned before, the ability to ask great questions. I'm going to have you jump ahead to page 23, where we've got the 3 kinds of questions we ask as mentors. There's a lot more about the questioning in the material, but I want to focus on these 3. The first one is investigative questions. As a mentor, I want to ask some investigative questions to get some information about what's going on here. But I say be careful about asking too many investigative questions. And for my legal minds in the room, that may be a challenge, right? So be careful about asking too many. Why do you think I give you that warning? I'm hearing
You could lead the conversation.
You can lead it. Yep. Yep. And it's about them, not about you. What else could happen if you get all this information about their problem? What are we're going to be inclined to do? We're going to solve it. You don't need all the information. You need a little so you can provide your role. But I want to be careful about asking too much. And also there's an intimidating factor about being asked a lot of questions, as we all know. But I need to get some background. The two payoff questions for mentoring, I think, are the discovery and the empowering questions. Again, mentoring is a learning process. We want this person to learn. And we know if they're thinking, they're learning. So discovery questions become very valuable. Questions that go to a deeper level. Questions that shine a light on areas that they should be pursuing. I may not have the answer, but I know that they ought to look over there. What would you do differently this time? What do you think you did so effectively that time? What did you learn from that? There's no limit to discovery questions, only listening. Your listening will tell you the areas you want them to do deeper thinking on. Then the next one is empowering questions, questions that move people to action. What are you going to do about this? How will you know your problem is solved? What's going to be your first step? I think in the workplace we probably do a lot of investigating and empowering questions, you know. What's going on? What are you going to do about it? Fine. What I don't think we usually take a lot of time to do is discovery questions. And I think as a mentor, your job is to help deepen their learning and thinking. So I think discovery questions are most likely the most valuable questions you can ask as a mentor, connected to the listening. I want to say a bit more about discovery questions before we do something with it. They're open-ended questions, obviously. They can't be answered in yes or no. So the question is, don't you think it'd be a good idea? It's not a good discovery question, right? Probably not even a question. It's a leading question, not open-ended. Now, describe to me what you would do differently. Tell me about that. I want you to start thinking it through, putting it in your own words. I know if you're doing that, you're going to discover lots of stuff. You're going to discover stuff I can't discover. You're going to have the ahas, and it'll be your ahas. So, and they're non-judgmental. I always say be careful about the why question. You know, why did you do it that way? Okay. Now I got to be defensive. Now I got to back up. So I can ask a why, but how I ask is going to be very important. Again, it's non-judgmental, so they don't have to, this is not putting them on the spot. This is not a test. This is a thing to get them to think about. And the last thing, they tend to be layered. You know, one question leads to another, hopefully to their aha. Well, if you did that, what might happen? Well, if she reacted that way, how would you handle that? Oh, wait a minute, bang, I got it. And I'll tell you the reason for my questioning. I think it'd be good if you pursue this or pursue that. And again, it's so connected to quality and listening. One good signal that you're not listening is asking a question out of left field that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. It's your issue, not mine. So I'm sticking with them. Okay, and it's amazing what you can do in 3 or 4 minutes listening at level 2 and asking good discovery questions. Amazing how much insight can break forward. In fact, I'm so convinced of that, we're going to try it out. Try another little experience. Once again, I'd like you to team up with somebody at your table. Want to team with the same person? Want to team up with somebody new? It's up to you, but once again, I like twos to form. Everybody team up with one other person? Guess we got it. Okay, want to stay where we're at? Okay. Get some new partners? So, okay. All right. Once again, we're going to have an experience having, this time, a conversation with each other. 2 people will be talking. But we have different roles again. And we'll do 2 rounds again. In each round, someone's going to be a question asker and someone's going to be a responder. The question asker will be asking discovery questions. Listening at level 2, listening well, asking good questions. They get this person to think about the issue that they're going to be talking about at a little deeper level. And the way this is going to start is I'm going to give the first question to the responders in each group, in each twosome. I'll give the first question. And then the responder will respond to the question asker, who will then start asking additional questions about that topic, so they'll be thinking about it at a deeper level again. And you can say why you asked the question, you have a conversation, but essentially you're still going after the question to get them to go to a deeper level or to a broader view than they may have had. That making sense so far? You're all level 2? Okay. All right. I'd like you to decide in your twosomes again who's going to start being the question asker and who will be the responder. Decide in your twosome. Got it? Okay. Responders, you all know who you are? Okay. I have a question for the responders. And once again, I want you to be honest in your response. I'd like you to think about a mentee, somebody you would hopefully be mentoring in the next year. And here's my question. A year from now, how would you most like that person to describe you as a mentor? If somebody came up to them and said, tell me about so-and-so, how was that mentoring? What would you want them to say about you? Think about that for a minute. Then I want you to express that to your question asker, who will then ask you some other questions that consider that on a deeper level. How would you most want to be described by your mentee a year from now? Start anytime you're ready. Okay, let me break into that. All right, let's just stop and look at this for a minute as a group. I'm interested for the responders, how helpful, how was this being asked those questions helpful to you? Being asked discovery questions. What was the value of that? How was it helpful? Ah, okay.
And it's like, there are some that help you internalize,
Good. So he surfaced some of the issues that had to be addressed underneath this issue. So he got you to think about it at a little deeper level as that came forward. Okay. Any other reactions of the value of just being asked those kind of questions?
I think that a series of questions help to answer my own question.
Ah, okay. You got it out there in front of you, and he put a mirror up a little bit about what's going on, so suddenly you're doing the work you wanted to do around this thing. Interesting what's going to happen in just 3 or 4 minutes with it. Any other reactions? Okay.
I think once you put on the right question,
Okay.
you open the dialogue.
Ah, okay. Good. And to do that, you have to have the antenna up on listening well, because you'll hear an area he may want to pursue, or the thing he ought to look at, a place he needs to go deeper. It'll be revealed, and you can do a lot of good dialogue with it. Okay, let's flip it. Let's flip it. New responder, new question asker, and new question, too. Okay, responders, here's a question. I want you to be very honest in your response, not that you wouldn't be. Here's the question. What could get in the way of you being a mentor you would most want to be? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple minutes more, but this time I'd like to raise this for the question asker. You can ask some empowering questions if you like. Give you a minute more to ask some empowering questions. Take a look at that. A lot of energy around this issue. I'm interested from the responders, how is this valuable? What was it like getting asked those questions? What did it do for you?
It made me think.
Made you think.
And there was one word in particular that Kristen used, which was efficiencies, and made me think about how long I've been in this job and the time that I have right now
Okay.
could be allocated differently.
Okay.
And looking at some of the bigger picture things, the people
Sure.
around me, what their workloads are like.
Great. All that in 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Look how much work can we do. Someone just shining a light. Other reactions. What was the effect on other people? Being asked the questions. How is it helpful?
It made me see that things weren't quite so messed up as maybe I thought they were.
Okay. Not as bad as I thought it was. Okay. Good. Yeah, somebody puts the light, makes me look around. So, okay, this isn't quite that, this won't be that difficult. Won't be that impossible. Excellent.
So riffing off that, it also helps to kind of flip the situation in the sense that what could potentially be an obstacle has in fact its own strengths
Okay.
that, think about it from the perspective of strength as opposed to obstacle.
Okay.
You uncover new ways of
So, and a couple questions can get you to flip that. Well, what's the good side of that? What could be the possible? So suddenly it gets flipped. Again, my thinking gets expanded, but being in a place where I can do that thinking out loud. Sometimes people say, I don't know what I think, so I hear myself say it out loud, you know? So it's a way to do that. So again, 4 or 5 minutes, very valuable things that happen. Now, there are certainly certain conditions to this. One, we're in a learning place. We have a trusting relationship, so we can do that deep thinking, and that's what we build in the mentoring process. Excellent. Okay, good. All right, I want to add another piece to this, but let me show you. Would it be good to take a 5-minute bio break? Want to do that? Let's take a quick 5 minutes, then we got about an hour to go. We can come back and we can do that. Quick 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, just long week.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody should have a card that was passed out at your table. We call it the Compass for Mentoring and Coaching. We don't expect you to be carrying this card around through the courts, you know, trying to do your mentoring coaching. But it's kind of an organized way to look at how a mentoring and coaching conversation should go. Things I ought to be thinking about when I'm in that kind of conversation. And I think, again, a little structure goes a long way, and having kind of a model in our mind can be valuable. And you see, the model kind of incorporates a lot of what we've been working on today. So we're saying around all elements of the compass here, we have listen and understand. And I go back to saying that is the critical element, that you get your credibility by you understanding me, and me knowing that you're understanding me. I like to say it this way, you know, somebody comes up to us in the hall or whatever, and their drawbridge goes down and they want to talk about something, from a mentoring perspective, let's say, and they hope that our drawbridge goes down and we understand them, and then we can do some work back and forth. But if their drawbridge goes down and ours does not go down in their mind, theirs will go back up and they'll go talk to somebody else. And they will not tell us, I don't think you get it. I don't think you're listening. I don't think you understand. People tend not to do that. They just say, okay, thank you, and go someplace else. So again, that's the major qualifier. All right, so we've broken up the conversation into 4 quadrants. First quadrant is seeking the issue, getting clarity about what really is the concern. And sometimes people come to us with a bunch of stuff buzzing around and haven't really nailed down what is the thing they really want to go after. So in quadrant 1, I'll ask some investigative questions. I'll be listening at level 2 with empathy. I may paraphrase the content, the emotion, what I'm picking up. So we really get to find what is the real root of this issue, root of this problem. Sometimes with people, that is a tremendous valuable asset, that I at least got clarity about what my issue really is. It isn't all the superficial. This is the heart of it. So once I get that, I move to quadrant 2. Quadrant 2, we try to clarify their thinking. Here is a place I think mentors do some good work. Here I'm going to focus on the person again, not just the issue. I'm going to be asking my discovery questions. I'll be holding the mirror up, providing some feedback. I'll be probing, summarizing, acting a bit like the devil's advocate, making them think it through on a deeper level. So they're going to be doing some work here, and I'm going to be doing some work here, so they're going to really go after it. And they know that in this conversation, they're going to think it through maybe the way they haven't thought it through before. They may have an approach, but I'm going to question that approach. Be the devil's advocate. Raise the what if issues. And so when we're finished, they'll say, that may not have been easy, but I feel a lot better about my direction now, or my plan, or my approach. I really got a chance to work it. I'm sure you've all maybe in your career had a supervisor or somebody you knew if you went in there with your approach, they're going to pound away at it, and it won't be comfortable, but when you walk away, you'll have a better approach, right? And part of our job as mentors is to do that with people. So here's the clarifying thinking piece. The next quadrant, here's where I make my contributions. I may share some experience, I may offer some suggestions, I may explore some alternatives I haven't thought about. You might notice we hold off to contribute until quadrant 3. So I'll ask the question, why don't we jump in with that in quadrant 1? Save a lot of struggle here. Why not do that? You're not mentoring. They're not learning very much. If you come in with a lot of suggestions, they'll say, it sounds good to me. They'll stop working. People always stop working when somebody gives them ideas, right? They'll come back and blame you later when it doesn't work. So if I'm moving too quickly, they're going to stop working. I'll be glad to help, but I want them to start going first, doing it. Okay, quadrant 4, pushing for action. Now, I want to clarify that a little bit, because I don't think, as mentors, we have a responsibility of making them do anything. But we can help them check their resolve, their willingness and their ability to move forward here. So I'm going to ask, again, some empowering questions here. I'm going to make sure that I don't take it over. I want them to own it, but I want them to make a decision. I like to say in mentoring, it isn't just about having a lot of conversations. Something should happen in between our conversations. They should have taken some action. Now, if I find they're not ready to move on this issue, that may mean we may need to go back and do more looking. Maybe we didn't get to the heart of the problem. Maybe there's something deeper here. Or maybe they just want to clarify their thinking and nail it down. Fine. So, I may be moving back and forth around this thing. As you look at this, what do you think is a place where we kind of earn our money as mentors? These are all important, but what might you think might be most valuable for the mentee?
After listening, giving a concrete suggestions, or coming to us
Well, sometimes if I can do my work to get them to think about a good way of doing this, if I've made them go on to a deeper level, if I've helped them look at alternatives and they decided, then I've really done my job. Now, I may have made a good suggestion. Nothing wrong with that. Add to it. But I want them to come away more empowered, more confident about their approach. But I definitely want to add value to this thing. So I add value by making them do the work. That's how I add value. So they come away and say, you know, that wasn't easy working with that person, but boy, am I stronger now because of this. And it will depend, obviously, on who the person is I'm dealing with in terms of where they're at with that. But I'm having this idea in mind. Let's get the problem defined well. Let's get them to do some work. Let me make my contribution, and let's see what they're going to do about it. So and you notice, here we have level 2 listening. Here we have the discovery and empowering questions. We work this in. And here we have the feedback also. So just a model to keep in mind, valuable to move forward. Any other points that may need further clarification on this? Okay. All right. Something else I want to do. I passed out to everyone this, mentoring self-assessment. Interesting tool. If you flip to the back of the last page here, we've defined 6 core mentoring competencies. And it really summarizes everything we've talked about through the afternoon. Things we're saying about good mentors. Good mentors support people. I reinforce you. I make you know that I'm committed to your success. I set the right tone. I create a good atmosphere. I demonstrate I'm in your corner. Key thing. You can't mentor me unless I know you want me to succeed. So I'm working hard at supporting people. I listen well. I reinforce. I give the praise. All that goes into that. But what if that's all I do is support? What's so bad about that? So they walk away from this mentoring year with you with a new friend, and that's it. So what's so terrible about that? Trick question, by the way. What if I just stop at supporting? What doesn't happen? They don't learn. Mentoring is about growth. It's about them improving by the fact that they work with me. I was of value added to them. So next comes challenging. I challenged, I stretched, I pushed them for them to be the best that they could be in this relationship. I've got to do both. I've got to support and challenge. If all I do is challenge and don't support, I'm going to run into a brick wall. If all I do is support and don't challenge, they make no progress. So those two go together. Pathfinding, we haven't talked about that very much. But part of my job, kind of the heart of your job, is help them be successful in the environment they're in, to understand the culture of the problem-solving core teams, to be able to thrive in that environment. Help them think that through. Maybe I'll help them network. Maybe I'll introduce them to different people that can give them more about this thing. And also in that pathfinding, help them get a vision of their success. We talked about that earlier. Next comes empowering. We've worked on that all afternoon. They should come away stronger, more confident based on this relationship. Not dependent, not needing me. Here's one we haven't talked about, double loop learning. I love that one because I think it really differentiates managing from mentoring people. Double loop learning is saying that I don't want to just look at the superficial problem, put a Band-Aid on it. I want to go to a deeper level in terms of what I need to do about this. And sometimes it's easier to have that conversation with the mentor than it is with my supervisor. For example, let me give you a quick example. I've been working with an organization. They had mentoring for new supervisors. And a young woman, first track of supervision, was in the program. And while she was in a program, she ran into some significant difficulties with several of her direct reports. It got so bad, she had to terminate one of these people. And she worked with her supervisor about how to do that. And it worked fairly well. Had to make the decision. But she worked with her mentor about what did she do that contributed to this problem in the first place. She wanted to get better as a leader. So the mentor helped her think it through, identify what she did. She was able to come up with some of the things that she wished she would have done differently, some of her key learnings that she's going to carry forward. But she had that conversation with her mentor, not with her supervisor. Why not, do you think? Yes, I don't want to open that up. I don't want to admit, I don't want to scourge around, see what I did wrong. But she did that with the mentor. And great payoff because she identified some key principles that she's going to carry forward in her career as a supervisor. That's double loop learning, deep learning. What can I learn from this? How will it affect me as I move forward? And then, of course, managed learning. Hopefully, your mentees will come forward with some things they want to work on, some specific goals they're going after. Okay, let's open this up. Little assessment form here. You see that we've got each of those competency areas, and we have a set of behaviors under each area that kind of bring it to light. And you notice we've got a couple of rating columns. We've got a skill rating column, and we have an importance rating column. Skill rating is how characteristic is that behavior of me in general. And we have a 1 to 6 scale in that, 1 being very uncharacteristic and 6 being very characteristic. And then we have an importance rating, which once again is a 1 to 6 scale. Now, here's something I'd like you to do. I'd like you to take the next few minutes, and I'd like you to go over this, and I'd like you to give yourself a skill rating on these behaviors, knowing yourself in general. We're not going to do an importance rating because you don't know your mentee yet. You don't know how important it will be or not important. But a skill rating about these behaviors in general. I'd like you to go through and do that. Then I'd like you to stop after you do that. Don't do the back page or fill anything else out. Anybody missing one? Oh, okay. You're welcome. All 6 of them. All 6 of them. So do all 3 pages just on the skill rating. And again, you don't need to tally them up. You don't need to go to the back page. Just complete it. How characteristic are those behaviors of you? Everybody has one? Has an assessment form? So, and share it with your partner. Share it with your partner. Go over the ones you'd most like to cultivate and get better at, and let them share some of the ones that they would like to get better at. Then we'll spend a minute dealing with this. We've got circled under supporting. Number 2, make it easy for others to admit that they need improvement or lack skills. That's a great one to have as a mentor. Now, how do I do that? How do I set the tone? Key to that's going to be non-judgmental, obviously. Key to that is not blaming. A lot that goes with that. So that's a very key mentoring skill set. Anything else under supporting? How about challenging? What came up under challenging? Another. I prompt others to examine the impact of their personal style under effectiveness. So often it's our personal style that holds us back. We may see something in our mentee that, hey, that's going to get in the way in that team. I'll tell you, if you kind of act like that, be kind of superior like that, you might find that you're going to get some resistance. So as I see something developing that is a clue for me about something that someone may do that may not be effective in this kind of role, I'm going to call their attention to it. Good skill set to have. Anything else under challenging? How about pathfinding?
Number 20.
Number 20. Help people establish informal or formal organizational networks. That's a key thing. You can be very helpful to them because you know how the system works. You know a lot of people. If I could connect people to people that's going to ease their entry into the team and make them more effective in the team, Great thing to do. Good mentors, you know, mentoring is not exclusive, it's inclusive, right? So I may not be your only mentor. That's okay. How about under empowering? 24. Let people make mistakes. Right? And that's sometimes a nail-biting kind of thing. For a supervisor, it's a nail-biting kind of thing. How far can I let you go? But you can't learn unless you make mistakes. How do you learn? And we don't want you to repeat the mistakes. We want you to keep doing it, but you got to try stuff out. How about under double loop learning? One of my favorites.
Number
33. I encourage others to question the status quo and the old way of doing things. Great. Yeah. I'm getting in trouble, right? But how do you do that? They're new on the team. Hey, they can ask stupid questions. You know? Okay. There's some other ones I think are important there. I like number 28, to help others explore how their way of thinking about a problem may be getting a way of solving it. Sometimes a mentor from the outside, if you keep using that approach, you're going to keep getting that result. And I can see it better than you can see it because I'm outside. Valuable. Okay. It's an interesting little skills assessment process here. And maybe after you're working in your mentor relationship a little while, you may want to ask your mentee to respond to some of these things and what they see. Anything else about this? Again, the intentionality of the process allows us to think more about doing these kind of things and watching how we're doing and getting better and better as we're in the mentoring process. Excellent. Okay, one more thing I'd like to call to your attention. On page 37 in your workbook, we've got something called the link-up agreement. I'm going to touch on that a little bit. Now, the way this hopefully is all going to evolve and unfold is that your mentee will have a chance to do a little work on what they're after and what they want. Hopefully they'll have a chance to complete something like this on their own, and then they'll contact you, and then my suggestion at your first meeting or so, you actually kind of nail down what the expectations are of the experience. I kind of suggest this kind of format in terms of each of you kind of completing this at the beginning of the year of what you're going to be doing, so you kind of know what you're after. Some things here. You know, what important information about ourselves do we share to shape a fulfilling partnership? Get to know each other a little bit. What's our personal style, our work ethics, our work history? Good to hear that from them to hear that from you. How would people describe you? Okay? What are the agreed upon expectations of our relationship? If we nail it down, what do we expect of each other? What is the mentee's initial area and focus for development? What do they want to initially work on? Here's one. How will we know the relationship is working? Let me throw that out there. How do you know this is working? What do you think? That's a basic one, but I think really true. I don't dread the meetings. You know, I don't dread the call. I'm looking forward to the call. They're looking forward to it. We know when we get together, we're going to have some fun, some good thinking is going to go on here. That's one indicator. Any other indicators? Now, one is they're getting better at what they want to work on. They're feeling more comfortable in a team. They're really becoming a major contributor to this thing. They're learning things quicker than they would have learned if they were all by themselves. So they're making progress. Hopefully they're going to have some goals, and they're making progress on those goals. A few other things I want to... Here, what do we keep confidential? Even though we say confidentiality is critical, I think it's worth talking about with your partner. You know, I'm going to buy into confidentiality. You're going to buy into confidentiality. We know that without that, this will not work. Number 8, ground rules for the relationship. How often we're going to meet, cancellation expectations, how do we handle miscommitments? You know, I think if people don't do what they say they're going to do, we ought to talk about it. We're not punishing anybody or blaming, but we can learn from it. So if you find your mentees promise all kinds of things that they're going to work on, and they come back and they haven't done any of that, let's talk about it. Maybe they're overcommitting, maybe they're not managing their time well, something good for them to learn about. And then, how will we assess our satisfaction with our meeting? I always say that at the end of a meeting, we got to say, how well did that go? Did we waste our time today? Did we get off the topic? Did we actually make some good progress? We can look at it, and if we're intentional about it, we can make it better and better. So it's a suggestion to have a format like that so you don't lose sight of how this is going to work. Good. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, and I really applaud your attention, your ability to stay with it, the last session and the 3-day conference. Easy not to be quite as attentive, I understand that. I want to throw it open for are there any points that need further clarification before we leave? Okay. Kyle, anything else you need to say to? Okay. Hopefully a mentee will be coming their way, right? Hopefully a mentee will be coming their way. Fairly soon, I would think in a month or so, or... Okay. That's the goal. Good. Good. We'll see what happens with this. Eventually, you'll be hopefully employed as a mentor here, if this worked well. Well, I want to thank you all for your participation and your eagerness, and I wish you great success with this process. And I think if you're committed to it, they're going to be committed to it. I think you'll be very successful. Hopefully I get the chance to see you back here next year, wanting to be a mentor again, if this works. So, good luck. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.